have you here today.
I'm so excited to be
I
here.
don't know if you all remember, Jeff spoke to us during COVID on one of our evening Zoom meetings. And that was really well attended. Everybody had a lot of great questions. We learned a lot from you then.
Yeah.
So no pressure, but we're expecting to learn a lot from you today.
Oh boy. It's all the same stuff. I just reread the notes.
Okay.
So
That's all right. That's all right. You can see if they remember.
No, well, thanks for having me.
Yep.
And hi guys. I'm Jeff.
I'll turn it over to you.
All right, cool. It's weird. I'm like used to. I was picturing like she was like it's around the island, and I was thinking it was going to be like all of us like actually around the island. So I mean, not to make things weird, but if you want to get closer, you can. Anyway, so I'm a local agent. I also coach for Ferry International. Been doing that for a couple of years now, and just honored to have an opportunity to hang out with you guys today. When I do this sort of thing, especially when it's face-to-face, I personally like it to be collaborative. And so what I mean by that is if we have an opportunity to, engage more than just me sitting up here talking, I think hopefully you guys are gonna get more out of it. But probably more so than anything else, I just wanna say thank you for being here. Thank you for, wanting to improve yourself and wanting to improve yourself for yourself, your families, and your clients. I think that, I heard her say, like, people who come here and soak this stuff in are the people who, assuming you then go and do some stuff, are going to have hopefully the best success and the best quality of life and experiences for yourself and your people. So I have a couple of different topics that I could jam on for a little bit. So I wanted to kind of like volley a couple things back to you guys. A lot of times I get brought in to talk about like social media and Instagram, Facebook, and non-paid engagement. So that's something that I can always hang out around. But something that has kind of been on my heart and mind as of late is mindset. And not to be like really woo-woo about that, but right now she just asked like, how many of you guys have some buyers who are driving you nuts? And unless you're a super strong listing agent historically, and even right now, it could be some challenge with that because in the past they'd be like, yeah, I'll list and then we'll go buy something. And now they're like, I would list, but then I have to go buy something. And so it's a real tough time. And I know that even myself, like when I'm not winning, and outside of this past year, I was winning almost all the time. So I know the things that it takes to win, big multiple offer situations, and even still, it's like sometimes, $75,000 or $100,000 over and you're still not gonna be the one. That can get pretty discouraging. So talking about mindset could be, a big thing that we could hang out on today. And then the other one is mindset around getting going on social and video. So I know that there's some cameras in the room here, but this is all you need, or this is all you need. And I work with a lot of my coaching clients around, I know I need to do more, I'm not sure how to get started, so that would be a topic that we could hang out around. So anything resonate with you guys with that? And well, of those, what would be maybe, if we could grade order like what I just mentioned, what would you guys want to hear or talk about more?
Maybe starting with social media and ending up with mindset at the end of it.
Okay, cool. So any other thoughts? I dig that.
What you do to lead generate?
I just hang out with people like you guys, but who are not agents a lot. Okay, so lead generation. Okay, cool. So any other thoughts or questions? And those two go together really well. So one of the things, I'll start with the social media. If you guys, who's on Facebook? Show of hands. Okay, awesome. Who's active on Facebook? As in one day a week? Oh, this is great. I love it. So how about Instagram? Who's on Instagram? And keep your hands up if you're active. Okay, good. So when we say active, is it, I'm gonna do that thing where it's like, I'm gonna start with a frequency. I'm trying to gauge the audience. So put your hands up and drop your hands as you fall out of the category. So we're doing stuff monthly on either one of the apps. We're doing stuff at least once a week. Awesome, good. So if you're not doing once a week, I'm gonna come after you guys. 2 or 3 times a week, okay? Every day? All right, good. So without going super deep real quick, if you're not doing every day, and if you're like, oh my gosh, Jeff, that seems like a lot, my first and most biggest encouragement would be just do a little something every day. And by that, I'm not asking for posts. Live in your stories. Stories is such an awesome place to engage with your people. that if you're not living in your stories, people forget about you. It's just human nature. Like, we are thinking about ourselves and whatever. And if somebody happens to have their phone in their hand and they're mindlessly scrolling, if we can do a better job of keeping top of mind with all of the people who know us, then I think that's going to help. If you're not posting every week, I would definitely at minimum post every week. And I would encourage you to do 2 or 3 times a week as a realistic rhythm. But if you're like, I really want to get some lead gen from this, I think 4 or 5 days a week is probably a good place to live, okay? So we're going to do another show of hands. All you post about is real estate. Hands up. Okay, only one. Cool. So what's the balance? I want to actually hear from you guys. Is it 50-50 personal and real estate, 25-75? What are you guys doing with that?
Mine's about 50-50.
Cool.
Mine's like 95 personal and 5 real estate.
Okay, got it. Anything
But I'm
else?
brand new, so
Welcome.
yeah.
Mine's 80-20.
80-20 which way?
Personal.
Okay, cool. Got it. So here's the cool thing. I don't think there's like a right or wrong, but I think 1 in 3 to maybe 1 in 5. And that would be personal is the 2 of 3. And then the real estate would be the other side. There's some reasons for that. Now, there's a couple different places you can live, right? So if you have a Facebook page and you have a Facebook business page or a Facebook account and a Facebook business account, the business account is probably going to be 80 to 100% business, all right? Most of my lead generation comes from my Facebook personal. The business mostly lives there. By the way, if you go and creep on my business account right now, you're gonna be like, that kind of sucks. Yeah, I've got some work to do on my business one. It mostly lives there in case somebody Googles me or gets referred to me and then goes to look to see, like, does this guy exist? Is this guy active? So from a personal Facebook standpoint and a personal Instagram standpoint, I would do 1 in 3 to 1 in 5. And with that in mind, I typically encourage folks to fill 3 buckets. So for me, it's real estate, family, and then a hobby, which for me, it kind of has teetered around a couple things, but mostly like physical wellness, which encompasses if we're out taking a bike ride, if we're kayaking, if the kids are playing basketball or soccer, if I'm at the gym, and no, I'm not doing like selfies in the gym. It's like whatever I have going on. And part of the reason for me why that's a big deal is because my wife used to own a CrossFit gym. And so as a result of that, a lot of my sphere does something to do with CrossFit, Spartans, some sort of gym athletic like things, or friends who have kids who are into sports. And so if people are buying homes one year out of 10, that means the other 9 years they probably don't have homes on their mind unless they're an HGTV junkie, and then you can post all the things, but they're a very small portion of the population. So if you then have, if you're posting all the time real estate, which most of you guys are not, which is good, but if you're posting all the time real estate, you're going to stop showing up in their feed because they're not going to engage with you. Does that make sense? And that's why it's good. But on the other side, if we're almost all, not busting on you, but if it's almost all personal and they don't know what you do, how are they going to know to think of you when it comes time for who am I going to hire when I need, to buy a house, sell a house, that sort of thing. And so there's kind of a couple like ideas that I would suggest, which would be the real you, okay? And that's going to encompass those 2 buckets of whatever your personal or family or that sort of thing that you're interested in sharing. And then your the other side of that, which is like your hobby, and that could be a number of things. Who's got something else that they share about on social, just to get some ideas up in the air? Okay, specifically around?
I take pictures.
But like what style photography?
It could be anything from flowers to micro or whatever, macro.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Is that something that you have in your weekly rhythm, just personally?
No, right now it's like once a month I do a photo walk.
Okay.
And after that, I'm supposed to post the pictures.
Okay. When you post it, are you posting them all at once, or are you spacing that out throughout the month?
I'm doing them all at once, so probably once.
So I would encourage, especially if the rhythm for you is the photo walk that's once a month, space those photos out throughout the month. And now you've got content all 4 weeks, whether it's 1 or 2 a week or whatever, and that's going to start building in that rhythm. Does that make sense? I love it. Anybody else have another hobby that they're into that they do regularly? You guys have to have a hobby.
Animals,
Okay, tell me more.
those little funny things or unique animals from all around the world type thing.
Okay, cool. So how frequently is that happening?
Too frequently.
Okay, tell me more.
Probably 5 days a week.
Okay,
My daughter tells me to slow down on it.
got it. What else are you posting?
I'm posting little kids or around the holidays, little costumes, or trying to get that. I know it sounds terrible, but trying to get the that age group that my kids are in, get them because I know that they're in that age of buying and selling.
Sure.
Trying to get them focused on those pictures and who is that woman? Is that so and so's mother? Oh my God, you know, that kind of thing.
Got it. Okay, cool. Good to know. So I would say, is your face in there at all?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got to get them to, because here's the reality. People who follow along with you because of the animals that you share will always follow along with you for that. But let's say, I have no idea how many friends you have on social, but let's say you have 500 friends on social. How many of those friends are paying attention and loving the animal stuff?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's probably a percentage, whether it's 25 or 50, are regulars hanging out in your feed because of that. The other 90% don't even know that you're there because at one point in time they saw it and they just kept scrolling because they don't know it's you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So we have to start incorporating our face into that. And I've got some more on that here in just a minute. Anybody else? Is this helpful, by the way? Are you guys liking the rhythm? Okay, cool.
Only thing I post are my kids and real estate.
Okay. Are you posting any selfies with your kids or just your kids?
Sometimes selfies
Okay.
with my kids, but most of the time, my kids.
Cool. Make sure that your face is showing up. So selfies with kids. And I'm not saying don't post your kids, but make sure that as frequently as you're posting your kids, you're also posting yourself with your kids. Because people who don't know you have kids won't stop the scroll when it's just your kids. So if the purpose of this is to generate business from it, then I would suggest it. And again, have it be a mix. Does that make sense? Did you have your hand raised? I'm making things up.
A couple little things, like I did the countdown to spring.
Okay.
So I did, that was it weekly, did everyone see my
Yeah.
countdown, right? And that was pretty cool because I got a lot of engagement on that one. Sometimes I'll do animal things, I do different or fitness things.
Okay.
I'm a fitness instructor too, so
Cool.
I'll do like a spring challenge, let's do this, and then just weekly pop a little something in there.
That's awesome. So on the countdown to spring, what give me an example of like 2 or 3 of the posts and how many posts were there?
At least weekly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started probably at about 74 days out
Okay.
from spring, and then just do like a daily countdown.
Okay.
Like by the days. like
Sure.
35 days till spring.
Got it.
Do pictures of flowers and
That's awesome.
stuff like that.
That's awesome. So when you were doing that, were you doing anything else in addition to that, or was that
Oh
it?
yeah, I still post like spring cleaning. I'll tag like a little something about real estate, like anybody doing spring cleaning, clean out a drawer today,
Sure.
little tips for spring cleaning.
I love it. Okay, good. Yeah, so it sounds like you have a nice balance. Does your face show up in that? Okay.
Not bad with that.
All right, well, and here's the cool thing. Like, I'm hearing some really good stuff that you guys are sharing. So the people who know that you're sharing it sounds like they're engaging well. The challenge becomes if they don't know that you're sharing because they don't stop their scroll because they don't know who it is, they'll never know. So here's another one. Of this stuff that you're posting with real estate, raise your hand if your face shows up at least 1 in 3 times. Okay, good. How about 50% of the time your face shows up in real estate stuff? Okay, good. So that's a big one that I see a lot of times. So I'll see the sold or the coming soon or the just listed or that sort of thing, and I won't see your face. And so again, if people aren't thinking about buying a house, they're probably not stopping to say, who posted that? Does that make sense? Unless there's some real strong branding around it, and even when it's real strong branding, people are getting to know your branding, and that's okay. But my encouragement would be the more that we can have it with us in it, and it's not because we think we're like awesome. Do me a favor. pull out your phones for just a second. We're not going to get distracted for too long. I'm going to ask you to pull them away again. If we're not friends on Instagram, if you're friends, go to my Instagram feed for a second. If we're not friends, it's at Jeff Bannan. That's JEFFBANNAN. I'm only going to probably have 1 or 2 personal requests, and one of them is going to be connect now, but when we're done, message me. Don't just connect and let it hang. We'll talk about that in a second. If you connect and you let it hang, there's no engagement. There's no reason for me to be like, who is this person? But if you then DM me, and we'll DM afterwards. But you guys notice just in my grid of the first 15, is there any question who I am or what I'm doing? That's super by design. I don't really care about selfies that much. Notice how many times I have a selfie of myself by myself. In the first 15, not once. If you're like, that one in the middle is, no, it's me and my dog. Okay? And if you're thinking about the one at the top that's a reel, no, that's just a screenshot of the reel. It's not a, does that make sense? And so what ends up happening though is it stops the scroll. And so if you thumb through my feed for a while, you're gonna start noticing things like sold selfies. You're not gonna see a just sold ever on my feed. I'm not saying it's wrong, but if you just do just solds, just listeds, coming soon, that's social proof, that's important. Or even like testimonials or people who wrote nice things about you on Google. It's all great content, but if that's all we're posting and they don't know who it is, they're never gonna see it. Nod your head if you're tracking with me. So who's gonna put their face in their feed more frequently based on this conversation? I like this, I'm like, maybe, I don't know. All right, good.
Consider putting your face on there when you post something, your face is on there?
Say it one more time.
Do you consider putting your face on a post?
Oh, if it's a picture and then your face is down here.
Right.
No.
Okay.
So better than not having it anywhere.
I do a lot of baseball things.
Okay.
I coach and I put an instructional video out.
Okay.
Twice a week.
That's awesome.
But I don't put my face in it.
Okay.
Other than my face is there when I put it on. And probably everybody that's on there knows that I sell real estate.
Sure. So that, because the people who are going to actually stop and pay attention to that video that you're going to add value to, that could be a little different because they're going to know it's you. When you say it's an instructional video, is it your voice and then you're showing something else, or?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Other times it's the actual guy coach who's doing it. Like
Okay.
I'll run, say like for catchers or something, just as an example.
Yep.
I'll have a catcher sit there and say why he's doing things in his footwork and how important footwork is and that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
So that's his voice,
Sure.
not mine. But I might introduce him.
I love the introduction. So I would introduce them. So one of my favorite things I'm seeing recently, Tom Ferry. Who follows Tom Ferry? Anybody? A couple people? Okay, if you're not, you probably should. He just pumps out a ton of amazing content. His right-hand guy, his name is Jason Pantana. And Jason Pantana does a program called Marketing Edge. And so Tom is doing like 5 series right now. He's gotten to the point where he realized his highest and best use of time is literally put me in front of a camera and give value. And so he's learning from people, he's getting together with people kind of like this, getting into collaboration. So like imagine if we had 3 hours and we could like do a deeper dive. I would get to know you guys more. I would probably come away with more content topics to share with other people in the future. But so Tom is doing This Week in Marketing. Guess who's not actually doing This Week in Marketing? It's not Tom, it's Jason. Guess whose face is on there at the very beginning? Tom's. He does this quick intro, and they're not even together. They're in Nashville and Dallas. And so Tom does a quick intro, and he's like, and I'm gonna turn it over to Jason, boom, turns it right over to Jason, and then Jason goes and does the 16-minute video. Tom did the 30-second intro. You could do the same thing. If you happen to be there with the guy who's doing the teaching, introduce him, grab a selfie, so your selfie can be the cover photo of that video, and now.
Yeah, I'm very rarely with the guy that I use.
Okay, so if you're
It
not.
happens on occasion.
Sure, so if you are, great. If you're not, no worries, but record a quick little clip. Here's what you're gonna learn today. And then that would be an opportunity, and you know, here's who it is, here's what you're gonna learn. I'm gonna let them take it away. and then you could cut it together. I'm not saying you have to do it, because I think it sounds like you're adding a lot of value, but that would be a way to get your face into that. Does that make sense? Cool. Cool. How are we doing here? All right. How long do we have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay, cool. Got it. Do we have any like more specific questions around social media, Instagram or Facebook?
Do you do Twitter?
No. And not because I shouldn't, and not because it's bad. I just never have. So that part of the reason why I'm saying any questions specifically around Facebook and Instagram. Yeah.
I have a problem trying to figure out if I should post more in the business or more in the personal.
Sure.
I've been told to keep them separate, and then I've been told to do business and share it in personal.
Yep.
Like, what do you suggest is the best?
I think that's a great question. So here's what I would do. When there's some more formal stuff, so like the actual pretty branded, just listed, just sold, that sort of thing, that's business, shared into your personal. So I do a lot of videos. If you guys have followed along a little bit, like I've got a listing coming live this weekend. We've got a video that's all queued up. It's living in YouTube land right now, which is, my YouTube is in its infancy. So if you like go to search there for great content, it's coming, but it's not there yet, or hopefully it's great. The post is going to be on my Instagram, which I only have one, okay, and it teeters back and forth between a creator account and a personal account. I oftentimes will have it be a personal account. Not that it's the right thing, but I'll have it be a personal account because I'd rather post an Instagram and let it push over to my personal Facebook, and I get enough engagement on my personal Facebook that I don't want stuff to not be living there. And I probably wouldn't post there if it were just having to open the app natively. So that's why I have those linked up like that. But on my business Facebook account, I'll post the house is going to be live tomorrow. Strategically, I'll just pop it in today for coming soon. It's been coming soon status for a little bit longer, but there's some stuff that I do that I wanted to just show up the day before to get a little extra buzz. And then tomorrow I'll switch it to just listed. So I'll actually go in and edit the post. So today it'll say coming soon, tomorrow it'll say just listed. I'll share it to my personal, and then I'm going to share it out into some of the like local home for sale groups, because the videos start with me. They start with my face. Then I'm introducing the house. Let's be real. You don't need a video to sell a house right now. You probably don't even need photos, and like it's a weird time, right? I haven't stopped. I've doubled down on video because I want to build the portfolio. One day this market might swing. Eventually, it's going to have to, right? When it is, 2 years, 3 years, it's hard to predict. But at that point in time, if I'm in competition for a listing and they're like, let me see your video portfolio, I've got an awesome one. And everybody else is going to say, oh, I don't need it. But so it's not so much to sell the house, it's to sell me. So Joe asked a question earlier, like how do you get business from that? These videos on Facebook, in some cases, are getting 2, 3, 4, 5,000 views, which is a lot, and I'm not paying a dime for that. And so now my face is showing up in front of other people, and the best part is the rapport is already built. So if and when I do meet or have an appointment with somebody, I walk right in and I already have the rapport. Does that make sense? So then on the personal stuff, that's where I think that rhythm we were talking about, 1 and 3, that would be on the personal page. 1 and 3, 1 and 5, 1 and 4, something like that. And some of those could be pushed out from your business page. And some of them probably, and I test this, but some of them should be maybe like some stuff that goes directly onto your personal one, just to see what engagement difference you get. Because I would guess you're gonna get more engagement on the ones that are native to your personal feed than to your business feed. But you gotta feed the beast on the business feed. Does that answer that question? Cool. Some ideas around what to share. How many of you guys have walked through a house in the last week? Okay, good. How many of you guys grabbed a tiny bit of content while you're in that house? 1. Okay, 2. Good. 3. Yes, I know you do. Guys.
That's 2 hands.
Right.
Sparkles.
Here's the cool thing. Brand new agent. How long have you been licensed for?
8 weeks.
That's amazing. You're never going to be here again. Take them on the journey. Here's what I learned this week. Pop it up. Have a conversation like you're having a conversation over coffee with a friend. Hey, I just learned this thing this week. Forget about the fact that people are like, oh, they're going to think I'm new. You are new. They're either going to hire you or not. and they're going to know that you're new, right? So imagine a year from now if you document every week something that you learned. And it's your face talking to the camera. You want easy way to get your face going? Talk to your phone. And if you're freaking, who's afraid to talk to their phone on video? All right, we're gonna crack into that here in a minute for mindset. Should we? No, we're gonna save that. Is that helpful though?
Yes.
So, I've got a buddy who sold 0 houses. In fact, there's a girl who's in North Carolina, who I'm buddies with in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, and they brought her in to do the training on Instagram stories, and they do these webinars twice a week, and she's got somewhere around 5,000 followers on Instagram right now. When she started in real estate, she had sold nothing, but as she was touring homes, she was just like, hey, I'm going to tour this home, and just sharing what she had going on. 3 months in, people are like, you're slamming. Can you help me? Yeah. By slamming, you mean walking through a house once a week and like grabbing footage? So while you're there, and there's questions around, and I'm not going to talk compliance, I'll let you talk to your broker about that. But I have a feeling that if you asked any agent if you could share something about their home, and we're not saying, hey, look at this house I just listed, we're not lying. It's just, hey, check out this house that I'm in. Check out this beautiful staircase, this amazing kitchen, this really cool little thing, zoom in, zoom out, this awesome view. Wouldn't you like to have a pond out back? You're not getting in trouble for sharing a pond out back. I mean, if you do, the other agent should probably get out of the business. All right, so imagine you show one house one day, you've got content for that whole week. That's one real estate clip in your story every single day. So going back to something I said at the very beginning, you should show up every day. 3 times in your story is probably enough if you're not showing up ever. If you're showing up 2 or 3 times, bump it up a little bit. If you're like, I don't want to be annoying, here's the reality. Most people aren't paying enough attention, or they're not following along that closely. They won't see a lot of what you post. They might see a quarter of what you post. So if you're posting every day and they see you twice, that's a great rhythm. If they see a quarter of what you post and you post once a week, they see you once a month. I guarantee they're seeing another agent friend more than once a month. Does that make sense? Let's not be salesy. It's the biggest thing that I have all my coaching clients stop doing. And it's amazing the results that happen. I've got one girl, she's up in Chicago. She is literally averaging 1 listing appointment that she takes per month through her DM on Instagram. She's been a licensed agent for about 17 months now. She started the Instagram page at the time, back November 2020. What a time to get into the business. And so 0 followers, she's up to almost 2,000 followers, but she also shows up in real life to real places. She's pretty engaged in her like bar, yoga, spin community up there in the Chicagoland area. She's a foodie, so she shows up and hangs out pretty regularly in those circles, and she engages with a lot of people. She lives in her stories constantly. She talks probably more about houses than even the rhythm I'm talking about, but she almost never says, hey, I'll sell your house for you. Does that make sense? When was the last time you watched an HGTV and somebody came on there and they're like, hey, I'll help you sell your house? Never. If they know you're selling a house and they know that you're a competent agent and they like you because they've gotten to know you and they like the things that you're into outside of real estate, they're probably going to reach out to you first. Now, that's where the whole, if we create good content, which is like creating good contribution, and we're making our calls, that's when all the magic happens. Because if all we do is share, some people are going to reach out to you. But, I'm pretty good at sharing, and I'm not that great at calling. Going back to Joe's question, how do you generate business? And I have missed opportunities because I found out somebody hired somebody else, and I know we're friends, and I know we're friends on social, and I see they're moving, and I'm like, I should have just called the guy. And that doesn't mean you're cold calling all the things. That doesn't mean you have to cold call FSBOs and you have to call, old expireds. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but if you're engaging with your people, imagine using your DM on social, Facebook and or Instagram as your means of communicating with your friends. Guess what the app's going to start doing? The app's going to be like, oh, these guys are friends. We should show more of each other to them. And then you're in this rhythm that we're talking about. It's probably one of the best encouragements that I give to folks is, yes.
So to add to that, I actually do DM people on Facebook, and I've been doing it since September. Have about like 5 leads come in off of that.
It's amazing.
Just from messaging people on Facebook
Yep.
that I went to school with or commented on something.
And what are you saying?
Back then, I was just saying, hey, I'm in real estate. Just let me know if there's anything I can help you with.
Sure.
Now I just keep up with people. I'm talking to a friend of mine in North Carolina. We went to school together. I just caught up with her, referred her to an agent. She's going to start looking. Just
It's awesome.
Conversation.
That's amazing. And so I love that. If you haven't had the conversation, hey, like, I'm in real estate. I just want to be your go-to. Or a great question, conversation starter there is, hey, I don't know if you have anybody who you would consider your trusted real estate advisor. I'd love to become that for you. Would you be open to that? It's not, hey, do you want to sell your house? There's so many other things. Hey guys, there's a lot going on in the market right now. I'm sure you've heard. This is a fun one. I'm sure you've heard that the values are up. Would you find value in me, helping you figure out what your true value is? By the way, I'm not trying to help you sell your house. I mean, call me if you are, but people are doing things with their equity. Equity in your house is like having poker chips at a casino. It's worthless until you cash it in. Oh, what do you mean by cashing it in? Oh, well, it simply means, you can pull an equity line, you can cash out refinance, a little less favorable right now with the rate crisis, right? But imagine, I've got 2 buddies right now, one who bought a Poconos house, one who bought a Florida house. Both of them, 0 cash out of pocket, pulled cash from their other house, used it as their down payment. Now the income from the Airbnb is paying both mortgages. So they took cash from their house and they're actually making money. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, have you ever had any interest in buying that second, based on all the equity that's growing, do you want to grow equity in 2? I got friends in the Poconos. Or maybe you love the Poconos, you want to go up there, right? So that's a good way to just communicate. And the other one is, think about it like this. We all walk into a party, high fives and handshakes and hugs are nice. That's like hearts, likes, thumbs ups, that sort of thing. Isn't it even more nice if somebody stops you and looks at you and says, I really love your hair, I really like your hat, great shoes. Comments are like compliments. And then DMs are like conversations. Okay, so hearts are like high fives and hugs. I'm going to slow down because I see people writing. Comments are like compliments. And it's like when we make a post, doesn't it feel good when we get that coming back at us? Well, if we're hoping for that and expecting that, we're not giving it, don't you think we should be giving it? And then finally, conversations or DMs are conversations. And that's where the magic happens. At any given day, I have upwards of 20 to 40 DM conversations going on in my Instagram. Guys, when I got into real estate, I started with for sale by owners, and it was terrible. And I sold some houses that way, and I got some good client relationships. But how much work is for sale by owners more often than not? Right? They say what? You have to have talked to them 8 times on average it's like 8 or 9 times before they commit to you. That's a lot of connection. Guess what I do every day on Instagram? I'm connecting with all my people. And when my people and I start working together, we're having fun because we already have a relationship. And sometimes because I have an actual relationship, or in December, I walked into a listing appointment from a referral from 2 years ago that I did not do a good job of following up on. They're like, hey Jeff, we're actually ready to sell our house. I was like, great, let's get together. And I remembered the house. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a tough one. Thank goodness it's a good time to sell. But it was like a really funky Phoenixville twin, not like on Pauling's Road, right? What a road to sell on. And the only way to get upstairs was a little tiny, like windy staircase. You can't put any furniture up there. They tried selling, they couldn't. I'm like, well, let's go. I'm sitting in his living room. He's like, did we go to high school together? I'm like, no, I grew up in Maryland. Laughing inside because I know that he thinks we know each other because of how much I put out on social. The rapport is already there. I didn't have to ask for the commitment. I had it walking in. I still asked for it, but I had it walking in. Does that make sense? So I think that that's where the power is. But yeah, living in the DMs, if you're creating content that you think is interesting or helpful to people, send it to them. if you see something else that somebody else created, send it to them. Hey, I thought of you. I've got a couple guys who we, correspond around fitness stuff, a couple guys who we correspond around cars, right? Because it's just fun, some like sports stuff. And so I'm staying in their DMs right now, and one day they'll use me to buy or sell a house. But in the meantime, we're just gonna be friends. That's what I mean by let's sell less. We don't have to put our phone number, we don't have to, and not to say that there's not anything wrong with a call to action, because I think there should be a call to action sometimes, but a lot of times we could probably do away with a call to action, specifically because it's not native to the app. Does that make sense? Think about all the other people you're following along with, and how many of them, if they're not selling something, are giving you a call to action? And how many of them who are selling something who give a call to action, you're like, oh, not this again? Does that make, you're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. So imagine if we do a little bit less call to action, a little more give. Content is contribution. Content is caring. Content is a conversation starter. So that's why we want to think broadly around that stuff. Any other questions about that before we jump into mindset around like video creation? You guys are quiet. Yes.
When you post, would you recommend to record the video and then post it or go live? What's the
That's another great question. I don't go live enough. So I think that if you have the guts to go live, I think there's some real power in that. And I'd play around with it, but I think going live on Facebook, going live on Instagram, either one of those are great. I typically am filming. By the way, I don't film on here. If you guys thumb around in my feed, I'm using these cameras probably less than 10% of the time. So most of what you see is done on the front-facing camera of this thing. It's not even a good camera on the back. It's like here, I'm in a well-lit area. That's, play around with lighting. You guys have some, especially in here, just get near a window and have this thing maybe go into portrait mode. There's a few little hacks I know you guys know about video in here, but I would do both. So if you're really good at going live, make sure you're still creating long form video and some reels. Reels can have some real good traction, but yeah, I think there's some power in going live too. Is that helpful?
Sometimes there's a lot of views and sometimes it's not.
It's hard to know. Do you go live randomly, or are you telling people about what you're going live about and when you're going live?
No, I don't.
So that could be something that could potentially help.
I post like, oh, I'm going live at 7 to discuss it.
Sure.
It's not really, I've tried a few times.
Yep.
Maybe not enough.
Maybe not enough. I would try to find some rhythm. Maybe go live with somebody else.
I tried that also.
Okay.
With a vendor, for example.
Yep.
And discussing people. Sometimes people don't want to ask questions.
Sure.
Why?
So
I ask, comment or contact me later when,
that's big. And so if you see who actually hung out with you on the live, or if you can go back and look, shoot them a DM afterwards. Hey, it meant a lot to me that you popped on, even if it was for a few minutes. Imagine how that engagement is going to be like, oh, wow, she paid attention. She noticed. She cares. That sort of thing. And so what? 3 people, 5 people, 10 people see you live? That's how many more people than you would have had a conversation with that day?
as we already, most of us probably know, a lot of people watching it but don't comment or like.
Yep.
To me, it's like, it's free. Why can't you just like it or say something like, and you're gonna engage and then it helps you
Yep.
down the road. But a lot of people like, oh,
A lot of people don't consume that way though. So I would be mindful of like not being frustrated that they're not engaging with you in there. Because you understand what this does for you, if you hopped on somebody's live, you'd probably engage with them because you kind of get it. But a lot of people aren't, they're just mindlessly scrolling through an app. They have no agenda. They're just trying to disconnect from the world, their kids, their spouse, whatever, right? And so maybe they're just like, oh, this is interesting information. I'm not gonna say anything. I'll tell you what, like if I pop on somebody's lives more often than not, I'm not saying anything. I'm just kind of a little curious about what's going on. But every time you go live and every time you pop up in front of them, guess what they're thinking about? You. So it's a great way to stay top of mind. If you go live, especially if it's with a lender or somebody else who you're doing a collaborative conversation with, download that, chop it up later, and now you've got quick clips for reels and stuff for the future that's gonna have a longer shelf life than just that one live.
or just to share, not that maybe somebody won't care, but like, I'm looking for the clients in Delaware, I'm looking for properties. We do meet every Saturday or whatever, but then I go preview the new construction.
Yeah.
Then I go through, I learn about it, I record the video, then I either post the video,
Yeah.
You make the video or go and just post the video and some people, oh, I like this house. Like people do engage.
Yep.
Even though I'm doing my other stuff, my agenda is to find the house.
Yep.
Person, but other people see it. So it's good to share.
Well, it's so important because you've now maximized your time. You're not just driving down to Delaware to show a house to a client. You're now showing the whole world, whoever might happen to stumble across what you're sharing in multiple different apps, multiple different ways. And that's where the power of the multiplication. I have gotten to the point where I almost don't do anything if there's just one thing that it serves. Does that make sense? So, I mean, this seems a little crazy, but this will double as content for future days, which is, I think, real powerful, you know? I brought my buddy Jared along with me. Thanks, Jared. And, you know, so it's just another thing. And same thing, later I'm gonna go film a house and we're gonna do not just the house filming content, but we're gonna do some other content while we're in the house, you know? So, and now that you say it, I might go live when I get there. Just be like, hey guys, have you know? I used to go live on Fridays. So I'd go to a Friday morning meeting and then I would be on my way home and I'd pick a house and I'd tour it and I would just jump in. And sometimes like you said, I'd have almost no engagement. Sometimes I would have awesome engagement. And it was just a really lousy walkthrough. But normally they were like pretty intriguing houses or recently rehabbed homes that were beautiful, and people watch HGTV, they might as well watch you, right? So raise your hand how should I ask the question? What's the reason why we're not doing video?
Self-consciousness, probably.
Okay.
Don't like how we sound or look.
Okay.
Knowledge.
Okay. I have some strange feeling that if you forgot 90% of what you know, you're still smarter than most people out there about real estate.
Not knowing what content.
That'd be a stretch.
Okay, so there's a handful of quick ways to go on this one. So the self-conscious thing, I get it. It can be frightening, kind of putting yourself out there, but everybody knows what we look like. Everybody knows what we sound like. If you're like, I hate how I sound on there, guys, that's how you sound. It's just, I mean, when we're talking, it sounds different than when we're listening to ourselves talk. Any of you guys ever record yourself as a kid on like an old tape cassette? I was like, I sound like that? I don't sound like that. It's the same thing, right? So if you are nervous to look at the camera and talk to it, don't look at the camera. But act like you're having a conversation with a friend. A good place to start is on Reels. And this feels like a lot, but 30 Reels in 30 days is a fun one. A friend of mine down in Miami did this. My old Tom Ferry coach was coaching her at the time, and she did 30 Reels, 30 days, answered 30 questions, 30 seconds each, because that's all you had then, now it's longer. And she made $30,000 as a result of it, which really was one commission on a cool place in Miami, and you know, but that all came as a DM. And the 30 questions in 30 days, let's be real. We could put a post out and say, hey guys, ask me your questions, and you might get 2 or 3 people to respond. Guys, you could ask questions every single day. You can go right to the top of the list. It could just start with the buying process. Hey, what are the first 5 steps of the buying process? This week I'm going to cover the first 5 steps of the buying process. First step is this. Second day, second step is this. Third day, third step is this. Fourth day. How the heck do you navigate this crazy market right now? What are the top 10 things that can make your offer stand out in this crazy market? Thinking about selling your house? Why is now a better time than ever in the history of selling houses? Does it make sense? I'm gonna give you all the reasons, right? And now you're just sharing this stuff. And these are just super simple things. Any of you guys feel like you have a superpower in real estate, something that you're specifically good with in a certain niche? No one? You should dig into that a little bit, because I'll bet most of you guys have something that you're a little better at than the average human when it comes to real estate. For me, it's getting my clients to clarity incredibly fast. So in the last 2 years, it's gotten weird recently, but in the last 2 years, all my buyers except for 3 wrote their first offer by the time they saw their 3rd house. And if you're like, that's crazy, that's my superpower. Does that make sense? And I'm a really, really strong negotiator. But I can share about that, and it's the sort of thing that if somebody stops their scroll because there I am in my face, and they're like, oh, I wonder what Jeff's up to, and they're like, he did what? And then I hook them By the way, if you're starting your video with, hey, this is Jeff from where I'm from, and I want to tell you all about this thing, and nice to meet you, and happy afternoon, and all these other things, they kept scrolling. We got 3 seconds. Go right into it, talk with authority, and practice. So that's the biggest one. If you're like, I'm a little self-conscious, I'm not sure what to say. One of the things, so I love the 30 reels in 30 days, because it'll get you going. 30 lives in 30 days is one that a buddy of mine tells his coaching clients to do. That's a fun one. He was like, I don't even care if it's about real estate. You're cooking with your wife, fire up the live and go live and hang out for the next half an hour with them. You're drinking a glass of wine, things get weird, it's okay, right? He was like, in the first 2 or 3 days, you're like, what do I do? Where do I press? Where do I look? Is there a countdown? I don't know. He was like, but by the end of the first week, your confidence is going to go way up because you've had some practice. I've had a couple of my coaching clients who were just deathly afraid to do it. I was like, cool. Every day you're filming for 1 minute and then trash the video. You don't have to do anything with it. Film for a minute, or for them, because they're my coaching clients, I'm like, film for a minute every day, once a week, send me your favorite one. Then you can trash them. And then we got to the end of that, and the fun part was, I was like, hey, there's your reel for the week. They're like, I can't post that. I'm like, it's really good. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Like, really good. One of my coaching clients is really fun. She's down in Dallas. She was deathly afraid. We were on a coaching call. It was a partner coaching call. It was her and her partner and me. She's like, it takes so long to do a reel. And I was like, how long does it take? She's like, 2 hours. I was like, how many reels? I was like, what reel land are you living in? And she's like, one reel. And I was like, well, tell me what's happening in these. Well, I've got to, come up with the content. I've got to write the content. I've got to practice the content. I've got to, like, all these things. I was like, okay, tell me more, right? I was like, give me a topic idea. And I was kind of being a jerk at the moment. Sometimes a good coach has to be. Gives me a topic. Her friend just starts laughing. I pull up my phone. I was like, you guys are getting a bonus 5 minutes of coaching time because last call of the day. And I just started riffing on the question she asked me, 56 seconds, because if you're looking at you look up here because that's where your camera is, and then right below there in your native camera app is a counter. And I finished 54 seconds. I was like, give me 2 more minutes. Gave a little caption, uploaded it to Instagram. 6,000 views later. She's like, you're such a jerk. I was like, it's that easy. Guess what she did? She, that day, started 30 and 30. Her engagement tripled. She's done more listings this year than she did all of last year. Do you think it's worth it, guys? Here's my favorite part. There's another one of my guys who had almost the exact same conversation. Now I can point him back to her. And in the DMs, I sent one of her videos that was like day 28. I was like, hey, check this out. We'll talk about it on our next call. And he literally responded. He was like, she's such a natural. She's so good. And I said, yeah, we'll talk about it. We talked about it. I was like, I told that story that I just told you guys. And he was like, you've got to be kidding me. He's on day like 21 right now. And he's getting real good too. And it's really fun to watch. And he's like, Jeff, I can't go anywhere and people don't pick up the conversation I started. And for him, he's in California. He's a big restaurateur. He's been a chef for 10 years, like at really high, like 5-star restaurants only. So he knows a lot of guys who owns restaurants. Like, talk about that. And he's a big history buff. So he talks about the history of his town. And so it's not all real estate related. Sometimes he talks about real estate, but sometimes he talks about other stuff. By the way, the day 28 video from the girl was her forgetting. She was out at the bar with her friend. She was like, oh shoot, I don't want to break my streak. Ran out in the lobby, filmed for 30 seconds, shot back in. So that whole she looks so natural is because she's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I think that's like when we can get our head around this, and it's cool with this group because I don't feel like you guys are resistant about being on social. Sometimes I talk to people and I'm like trying to convince them. That's not you guys. But if you're not on video, you're missing, I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard it, but the opportunity is awesome. I got a DM yesterday from a guy. He's like, he's moved to Arizona from Chicago. He's been there 5-6 months now. He started a brand new YouTube whatever. When he got there, he just settled his second YouTube lead. $20, $30, $40,000 in commission because he decided to do YouTube twice a week. And we didn't even talk about YouTube, but it's the power of video is incredible. But again, you're building rapport, you're building trust, which is something that I think we have an opportunity to do long before we ever get to the client. And so if we talk about like being high quality professionals, If we show up and that's the minute we start building rapport, we're way behind. Does that make sense? My rapport has been getting built since I did the sold selfie of the person they referred me to. By the way, sold selfies. Not just pictures of people, do it with them. You might want to get their permission again. I don't talk compliance, so check on that stuff, but sold selfies will get your face on there. It'll get the scroll stopped. One of my sold selfies had 200 comments on Facebook, not my friends. I think I had like 7 people comment, which means 190 some people who didn't know me commented on they've referred me 3 times, and by the time I meet their referrals, they know me, or they think they know me. Does that all make sense? Who's gonna do video now? Oh, all right. So when you do video, because this is what really gets me juiced up. When you do video, and now that we're gonna be Instagram friends, I wanna see some. And I probably won't let you DM them to me, so share them with me. I would love to see them. Does that make sense? Not to go deep on the mindset thing, but I wrote it down. I was like, of all the things we talk about, like how you talk to yourself matters. And so especially with video and with clients, right? And by with clients, I mean like, okay, this is tough right now. Talk to yourself the way you talk to your friend. What would you say to her if you heard she wanted to do video, but she was scared?
Do it with her.
But that's awesome. But what would you say to her to help her get rolling?
You'll be great. Just do it.
Cool. Yeah. Or you probably know more than most people in your right pinky finger. You know, don't worry about people. By the way, if people are ripping you, it's working. If people are paying enough attention to be like, why'd you say that? Thank you. It's like a compliment. You think I'm joking. One of my friends, she was like, people are hating on me. And she's like, we call her Boomer. She's not a boomer. Her husband's a boomer, so we tease her all the time. And I film for her. And she's like, I know I need to get on video. And she started. And she's like, people are literally like saying, you're posting too much. Why do you think? I was like, that's a compliment. Because those same people in 6 months, a year, 2 years are going to call you. Does that make sense? Anything else that would be helpful here? I know we're almost to that time. Any questions?
I just have a question. You said let's take a selfie with the soul side.
Yeah.
When I have a soul, I would get in the picture with them and have.
I love it.
Take
That's awesome. That works.
Okay.
Yeah, when I say sold selfie, it's not like technically it has to be you holding the camera. That's a good question though. These questions are good because that would be the sort of thing, had she not said, she'd be thinking about, do I really have to do a selfie? Like I've been doing that thing. Do you get people who like comment on it because they see you? I'll bet you probably get more engagement on your sold selfies than people who are just doing just solds. I don't know if you've paid attention,
I
but.
haven't had it in a while, but yeah, they say
Okay.
congratulations.
You need to go sell something.
I know. I was listening.
Anything else? What else do you guys have on your mind?
This is great.
Can we see the examples of that girl's videos?
Shoot me a DM and I'll send you one. Yeah. That's another one. If you're not following along, especially because we've talked heavily on social, if you're not following along with people who are doing good stuff, go find some people and get out of your office. Not that you shouldn't follow you should follow your friends because that brings camaraderie and collaboration. But you should also then follow people who are local and out of the office and national and also at a similar playing field as you. So if you have 500 followers and all you're following is 20,000 follower people, you're gonna be like, I can't do that. No, you probably can't now, but go follow some people who have 1,000 followers or less or 2,000 followers. Does that make sense? And pay attention to what they're doing. Pay attention to their rhythm, their cadence, their conversation. Pay attention how it makes you feel. Does it make you go, eh? Or are you like, oh my gosh, do you lean in? I've got 2 or 3 threads with a few of my people and one guy who does a ton of support. Actually, how often do you get a DM from me?
Sometimes I think about blocking.
But it's because we're doing a lot of collaborative work together and I want him to know, but sometimes it's like, thank you. That was good.
It's a joke, but I get plenty of DMs just the point of that joke from him.
Yeah, but so anyway, one of the guys who does a lot of my photo help, we're constantly talking about it. because it's like, hey, how'd this feel? How'd this hit? How'd this work? What would we do a little differently? So that's like, find your little pod, and you just said do it together, get accountable. A bunch of you guys raised your hand and said we're going to do some videos. Great. Pick an accountability partner, put some money on the line or dinner on the line or something, and make it a contest. I'm brand new on YouTube. I have like less than 30 subscribers. I keep saying it wrong because I don't do it. So this is where I'm like growing. And a buddy of mine has 500 subscribers, and we're racing to the next 500. He's going to win. I'm going to buy him and his wife dinner because of it. But it's gotten me moving, which has been really, really good. Does that make sense? So, yeah, awesome. Anything else before we wrap this thing?
I have one quick
Yeah,
question.
please.
I noticed that on your profile, you don't put realtor next to your name.
Do I not? Oh, okay. Do you know I'm a realtor?
I do, yeah.
But like if you looked at my feed?
No, not unless I look at your profile where it says realtor underneath.
If you,
But not right from your feed.
which is kind of by design, and I sell a lot of houses from Instagram.
Right.
So yeah, I actually have it as an entrepreneur account right now, as opposed to a business account
Right.
for some various reasons. So that's part of the reason why it doesn't say Jeff Bannan Realtor. It ebbs and flows. But I don't think you have to have a realtor account, if that makes sense.
So as people were going to identify with you as a realtor.
But look, if you look at my bio, the very next, it says Jeff Bannan, entrepreneur, PA, realtor, hashtag sold by Bannan. That's a fun one, by the way. If you guys don't have a personal hashtag, you should. You have one?
Yep.
Good. Thanks for talking. You've been over here nodding and not saying a word.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm an absorber.
Okay, good.
So I've just been absorbing the content.
All right, 2 or 3 people who haven't said a word. Hit me with something. You got something on your mind. You just popped it. No, well, I mean, just.
I saw him. I can't wait for his video.
Okay, yeah.
The leads that you get, what would the percentage breakdown be from each site? Like, where do you get them from?
So yeah, that's great. So for me, I lump them together, Facebook and Instagram. I did 20% of my business was cold from social media. And then another probably 50 or 60% was a lead source supported by social media. And to the tune of probably half of them would not have become clients if it weren't for the social media supporting it. So friends from church, friends from gym, sphere of influence. Like I did 8 transactions from gym friends last year. And one of them was one of the biggest deals I ever did. It was a girl from gym's mom who had to sell a farm. That was awesome. That wouldn't have happened if it weren't for social media. And the power behind the social media, the guy who owns that gym and I are friends and we DM all the time, and I know he was in her ear. Does that make sense? So a lot. I don't like prospecting, like most agents. So I said I want to get so good at something else that I got into social media and the non-paid social media back when my wife bought a CrossFit gym before I was an agent. And we didn't have cash to like advertise. We tripled the size of the gym in a little over a year because of Instagram and Facebook. And so I took all that right into this. That was a great question though. Anybody, that was one of 3. And I know we got to wrap. If you guys got to go, you can go. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've started shooting.